Good morning, it's the 6th of February 2018, Tuesday today. So I woke up and found that I dislocated my shoulder in my sleep and it had dropped down more again, so I'm wearing my shoulder brace, which just makes the pain so much more manageable and stops me from making it worse. But I just looked out the window and it's snowing a little bit. Sorry if this is a little shaky, by the way. I'm struggling to film with one arm. So the weather reports show that it's going to be really cold over the next couple of days, so I think I'm going to avoid leaving the house today. They said highs of 4 degrees, lows of -3. I'm just waiting for my carer to get here. Just seen a car and I wonder if that's her. So it's about half an hour after the morning carers normally get here, and I'm starting to think that they're just not coming. After that weird conversation yesterday, they still did come that evening, and my mum called the emergency number and just asked them if the care was still ongoing, and they said yes, nothing's on the records been changed. I tried to ask the woman who came yesterday and told me that it was ending to restate to me what she said yesterday, and she said that because I was upset she was going to refuse to tell me and she was going to end the call. And I said, so you're refusing to tell me what you said yesterday even though you know that my memory's bad and I can't remember, and you said it to me when I was alone? And she said yes. I've asked for the manager to call me this afternoon and hopefully they will. I'm just so fed up of people telling me that I can do things when I can't. If they see me do something once, they write down that I can always do it independently, which is completely untrue. I've tried to explain to them that my condition's variable, and it just takes me back to the traumatic experiences that I had before I was diagnosed with EDS, and when I was trying to get help in hospital and the doctors were saying that I was just making it up and that I was just a stupid young woman. Hey, so I'm feeling a lot better than earlier. What I actually did was rang up the manager of the whole care service altogether, and left a message for her explaining all the issues I'd had and the fact that I didn't understand what was happening to me with my care and that it was really upsetting me. So I got a call back from her, and she surprised me because she was really understanding of what I was saying. The manager said that she understands that the problem here is in relation to EDS being quite a variable condition for a lot of people, and definitely for me, where on a given day I could be completely unable to wake up or get out of bed, and then on another day, a day or two later, I might be up heating up my meals in the kitchen. And so they can record that I've managed to successfully make my breakfast and lunch a few times, which they have done, but that doesn't mean that I no longer need any care, because that just means that I was able to do it that day. I was having a good day. So the manager seemed to understand this, and I told her that the office lady yesterday had denied telling me the stuff that she said, and that she'd refused to record her visit in the book, and the manager said that there is absolutely no reason for that. If that's what she's done, that's completely wrong. And I said, well, it is what she's done, and you can come and check the book to see that she's not put her name in there, you know. So she said she'd speak to that office girl, and also that she was new and maybe she didn't have enough experience to deal with the situation very well or something. So I feel a lot better about that now, and the upshot is they're going to keep coming for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll be getting an assessment from my local authority to decide for an ongoing care plan of, you know, what budget I'll get, how much care I'll be allowed in terms of how many visits per day or whatever, and depending on what they find as a result of that assessment. And there's also a financial assessment to see how much you've got to contribute to pay, but I have almost no money, so I don't have to pay anything. I know that because I looked up the criteria, so actually things are looking okay now. But it really does make you insane when you try to confront somebody about something they said the day before, and they pretend that it never happened, or pretend that they said something dramatically different from what they actually said. I mean, it seems like she just was trying to get out of trouble there. But because my memory is so unreliable, it's really upsetting when somebody sort of questions my true account of what happened and makes me feel like I can't even rely on the memories I have. So when my mum came home this evening, she had managed to get a copy of the letter from my specialist EDS clinic from the GP, because they never actually typed up or posted the letter. It seems like they forgot to do it. Again, typical of the healthcare service that I've received anyway. So obviously it's 6 weeks later, and when we queried it, they then emailed a copy of the letter, which presumably they just typed up, to the doctor. So I've got that copy here. So the other thing that happened today was that I managed to get a copy of the letter that describes the outcome of my appointment with the Ehlers Danlos clinic, which I went to back in December, about the middle of December I think, and they failed to type up and send the letters at all until we contacted them to query it, and then they pretended that they had sent them and that they got lost in the post, but all the post I've had from this hospital has either failed to turn up or turned up with the envelope ripped in half or something along those lines. So there's definitely something weird going on with the postal system at the hospital. But anyway, once we queried it, they finally typed up the letter and sent a copy over to my GP, and because my mum went to the GP this morning to give me my letter explaining what my perspective is on the care needs that I think I have, she was also given a copy of this letter, as it was just the latest new letter, and the GP knows that I collect them, partly for medical evidence, but also partly for my own sanity. I need to be able to check back what things happened when. So the letter, I think it's a really good letter, and sometimes you leave an appointment feeling good and then you get the letter and you think maybe they didn't really understand me at all, but in this letter it's obvious that she did understand all of my issues very well. So the interesting part about it, I think, is where I meet the criteria for the diagnosis of Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, and that's what I'm going to share with you now. So, diagnosis: hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, fulfilling the 2017 international classifications. So that means that, without a doubt, one of the few experts in my country has identified that I have hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, and that I definitely meet the new criteria. So nobody can really argue with that, can they? Anyway, the criteria that I meet in order to get this diagnosis have been listed underneath, and I'll just share those with you. So, I'm hypermobile with a Baton score of 7 out of 9. I'd like to know which of the two hypermobile things I wasn't able to do, because when I've tested it, I've sort of managed to get 9 out of 9, but I think it does vary a bit on different days. Anyway, and then out of the minor criteria, she says that I have flexible, soft, velvety skin and mild skin hyperextensibility. Now, I can't show you soft skin, you'll just have to take her word for it, but the mild skin hyperextensibility refers to the fact that my skin is extremely stretchy compared to a normal person, and sometimes when I show this to people they say, I can stretch my skin too, that's not weird, but it's more a matter of degree. So I will show you a few stretchy skin things now. I mean, you can sort of see where I can pull up a big flap of skin anywhere, and then when I let go it just springs straight back, which is part of the skin hyperextensibility. And then I have atrophic scarring, and I'll cut in a clip of that. I have had a very minor surgery to get a muscle biopsy from my leg, and there's a scar in my thigh that is about 4 or 5 times the width of the original surgical incision and sort of growing over time. So that would be an example of that. And then I have dental overcrowding with a high narrow palate. That means that my teeth don't all sort of fit in my mouth, it's too narrow and it goes too far up here, and you can only really see that if you look in the mouth with a torch and if you know what you're looking for or have some images to compare it to. So I also have mild arachnodactyly. That means that your fingers are long, and the tests for that include things like, can you make a fist and have your thumb stick out on the other side of the fist, which mine just about does there, and then there's other tests, but you need both hands to do it, and I'm in the sling at the minute, so unfortunately I can't show you. That's it for the criteria, but it also says these occur in the context of chronic widespread pain and musculoskeletal problems, so that forms part of the diagnosis as well. And then she says other problems: orthostatic tachycardia syndrome with dizziness and gastrointestinal symptoms, no hernias, easy bruising and instability in multiple joints of the body.
So that's how I know that I have Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, and I hope that was interesting to you. So I'm happy with that letter because it confirms 100% in writing that the diagnosis is completely correct, and my GP will read this letter and she'll know that now, I hope. So any doubts that were in her mind should be resolved by this, because this is the expert in EDS and this is what she's saying.